Okay, so lately I've been seeing a couple of videos of people putting in fence or working with string lines. I know Terry over at Hidden Hollow Loft, if you check his channel out, he was putting in some fence around his place recently. It looks pretty good. There's a couple other channels that I watch fairly regularly that we're also talking about fences or string lines. There's this gal out on the west coast, Ann of All Trades, and then there's this other channel which has to be one of my favorites. It's called Essential Craftsman, and it's probably one of the few channels I actually binge watch just because the amount of knowledge that guy has about construction in general. Now, I used to put in chain link fence for a living. I did that for several years. I also did ornamental iron, wood, PVC, and vinyl, but chain link was majority of what I did, and I thought I'd show you guys how we'd set up our string lines at those kinds of jobs. This is what we used for stakes. It's a piece of tension bar. Most of the fences we put in were 6 foot. So we just always carry extra tension bars on our trucks. And then if we ran short, we'd have them, or if we ran short of stakes, we could just cut them into thirds and use them. I always kept a couple that were longer than this because of the different height elevations. And basically, I'd carry a handful of these around and a string line and my hammer when we were setting up a job. And so we didn't use a lot of tools, so we didn't really have tool bags, but we'd keep our string line on a spool like this that was used for welder wire. And then what we do is we just set it on our hammer like that. Now, when we go to attach it to the stake, we'd make sure which side of the face the stake was going to be for our line, and we'd always try to stay on that side. So I'd do like this. I'd go around twice, I'd come back around here once, and I'd do like that, and that would hold it. And you can see this stake's moving just a little bit. I didn't put it in the ground as far as I would normally do on a job site, just because I'm just doing a demo here. But then, once that was in place, I could just pick up my stakes in one hand and walk with the other hand like this and spool out my string. Now, let's say I'm just going to do this short here so it's within the camera. But if you're on ground that's not very good, you can double up your stakes like that and pound them as one. So then when I get to the other string here, I just pull it, give it the same kind of wrap around, and if it was just the corner and I was going to continue on, I'd just do a single wrap. Or on really, really long stretches, you know, we're talking hundreds of feet here, we'd do our ends, and then we would send a guy down through the middle with extra stakes, and he'd just do a single wrap, and we'd eye him in straight because it's very windy out here, and the wind could push your line off no matter how tight you'd get the string. I mean, you could have it banjo picking tight, and it'd still move your string. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to wrap this one. And it's always tricky to do it on short runs like that, but you can do it like that, and if it's still a little bit slack, you just take your hammer and just tap your stake over a little bit, drive it a little more. Now, when you are doing a corner, the main thing is you're going to want to have your stakes back far enough from where you're digging that you can get the string out of the way of the digger, and also you're not going to have your stakes falling into the hole. Same thing if you're digging a hole up against a building. We would always set the last stake about a foot to 18 inches back from the building, because when you're digging, you're probably going to run into overflow of the footing, or out here we run into rocks and stuff, or it's loose packed dirt from the contractors. You know, we did a lot of apartments and stuff, so that dirt would just cave off. So we just set it up like that, and then we'd run our tape measure along the string and use that as a continuation of the string when we were setting the post to make sure it was in line. Now, the other nice thing about using these metal stakes is if you can't get a stake to drive exactly where you want it, let's say I want one here, but you run into a big rock and you can't get it, so you have to move it off of the line. Well, all you have to do is just bend that stake, and then if you bend it right and you put enough tension on it, you can get that string where it's supposed to be. And then when it comes time to take everything out, you just pull it back out like this. And you just get your bar back to fairly straight. Now, another thing that I think I commented on the video on Ann's channel is she had her string line clear up here at waist height and was having trouble with it getting in the way of the diggers. So the height that I put the string there is about the height that I always ran it, and I'm just going to put a little space here. If it kind of flexes a little, you can always tamp the dirt down around it with your hammer. But I'm going to pull this one. Now, let's say I want to set a post right here. So we'd mark our posts out with spray paint and a tape measure, and depending on the type of fence it was anywhere from 6 to 10 foot in between the posts, or from post to post. But let's say this is my hole here that I'm going to dig. Well, what I'd do is I would step to the side, move this string out, and set my hand diggers down in and take a bite, step back, and I want about a third of that bite to be over the line and 2/3 behind it, because this is where the post is going. And then I'd dig from there. And you'd want that post to be 3 times, the post hole to be 3 times what the post is. So if it's 3-inch post, you want a 9-inch hole. And you're going to want to check what your codes are and what your frost line is for your area as far as how deep you go. The other thing with digging post holes is you want to make sure you're digging them straight all the way down. So if you angle your digger as you go down, you can shave off the sides of the hole. Too often when you dig, you start off with a 9-inch hole, and as you go deeper and deeper, you're just focused on the middle of that hole, and by the time you get to depth, you're only about that big. So you want to avoid that. It makes it easier for the post to come up out of the ground, and it also makes it not very sturdy. Now if you're feeling really talented, or you know that your fence lines in your area will heave with the winter thaw, you can angle that even further as you get down to the bottom and try to bell out the bottom. So your hole will go down like this and come out like that, and that kind of helps to keep it in place too. But anyway, I just thought I'd show you real quick just a little bit about string lines. Have a good one.